One of the first things we did when we got to Cusco, Peru, was to hike up to the Sacsayhuaman ruins so that we could ask our questions: who built them? Is it Inca or a pre-Incan megalithic culture? How did they build them? Is there technology we've lost? Now, this should be an easy question to answer because we have chroniclers, such as the Spanish chronicler Pedro Cieza de Leon, for example, who wrote in 1553, "The fortress had been begun in the days of Pachacuti. His son Topa Inca and Huayna Capac and Huáscar added greatly to it." He also adds that Pachacuti ordered 20,000 men sent in from the provinces, and that 4,000 of them quarried and cut the stones, 6,000 of them hauled them with great cables of leather and hemp, the others dug the dig and laid the foundations, while still others cut poles and beams for the timbers. So the problem is that the Spanish, they just butchered these gorgeous ruins, and they took all the stones and moved things around, and so much of it's changed that it's hard to see what was and what it was originally. But it's more than just the size of the stones and how closely fitted together they are that cause people to wonder whether it was really the Inca. It's also the culture on culture that seemingly looks like the Inca found a different style of pre-Inca stones and built on top of them. Here's what you're told as far as how they were made.
One stone is 70% is the metal, and 30% is the stones. This is for the hay, make the wall, is the pole, is the walls.
So he's saying that the stone they used to make that was harder than normal. The stone itself had metal in it, 70% metal. Do you have that book?
Yeah, stones.
All right, so this is the stone.
Yeah.
And he said that there's 70% metal in there, that they've tested it, and that's what they used to make
for
this.
The hay make the wall. Listen, these people, because we have these people, is the hay make the wall, is the pole, is the walls.
So that's what you're told, that they ground them out. But other guides, for example, told us that it was a pre-Incan megalithic culture. Some literally told us it was aliens. But I think the guide that made it the most sense was the one at the Sacsayhuaman ruins itself, who told us this.
So our tour guide said that when these stones were brought, they were soft. Then they would have men come over and they would smooth it. These marks right here are from when they smoothed the stone out, which may give us a clue of why these stones are so tightly packed together. There's just no room in between them. This one, he said, okay, so they brought it, soft, they smoothed it, then that smoothing material that they had, that they could soften rock with, they just threw it down here and down here, and then just left it. And that's the reason why you see the scarring there. Continuing on, you still see the same kind of scoop marks or brush strokes or whatever you want to call them that they were using to smooth the rocks to finish them. And again, all of this was caused by either the smoothing or the placing of that stone softening material on it and left to dry.
Whether you say it was the Inca or a pre-Incan megalithic culture, it's clear from the scoop marks all over these stones, both here in Cusco and Ollantaytambo and elsewhere, that somebody had the ability to soften stone. The question is who? Because you look at these stone walls that were nearby and they look nothing like it. Now, why is that? Now, we were told that they needed drainage. Well, how come you didn't need drainage on the other walls? Sometimes you're told, well, it's because they're not royal or, sacred stones, so they didn't spend as much time on it. But to me, it just looks like that wherever you go, you see two different cultures side by side. The other thing you have to keep in mind is the sheer volume of these ruins. They're just everywhere. It would take so much time to do all this. Look, for example, at this.
Water management, as you will see, is paramount here, and they were aware of that. Think about the public works that was involved in just constructing this. It goes all the way down the side of the mountain.
I thought John had gotten that wrong, so I asked my Peruvian friend who's a guide, and he said, no, that's megalithic. You see how tightly the stones fit together there? That's not modern. So on top of all the ruins, you've got these waterworks, you've got Machu Picchu, you've got the Coricancha and Cusco Palace, the Sacsayhuaman ruins, Ollantaytambo. You got a lot of things that were built in a short period of time. Let's go back to the idea of whether they beat these stones with other rocks or whether they had the ability to melt them, which makes more sense when you see cracks like this, because even the Spanish, with all their architectural prowess from Europe, with the cathedrals and stuff they'd accomplished so far, they got here and either they forgot to ask the Inca how to do this, or the Inca wouldn't tell them, but they obviously couldn't even closely approximate the sophistication that they saw in the Inca or pre-Inca culture. Let's look at some of the stonemason experiments that people have done in attempts to explain these things.
See? No big deal. Yeah, it takes a long time. Let's try this side. But it's coming. Now these guys who did this and they were doing the unfinished obelisk, yeah, it took them a while. You gotta, see, when you're working with granite and you're not cutting into it, you gotta crush it. Now you could use copper if you want. You know what I mean? It works, but you gotta keep sharpening everything all the time. See, it bends. See, it bends. Look at that. We're not doing that. We're just pounding it. See how I'm pounding it? It's nothing that can't be done. And just kind of wear it away. Takes a long time. I come out here, you know, for 10, 20, 30 minutes. I might get like a 1/16 of an inch down. But I'm getting it. Well, it has to be obvious that this is taking a long time, so I'm only going to go so far with it. I was going to go all the way back to here, but I think I made my point. And I've been out here doing it a little bit every day. And you'll see now after at it, see? So this is the end result. You see that? I carved that into there with just using pieces of granite. And I'm not going to lie to you, it took a long time to do it. I keep coming out a little bit at a time, maybe a 32nd of an inch, and I get it. Now this is a stone from Machu Picchu and Sacsayhuaman in Peru. And I'm going to tell you the same thing with this stuff. You just rub it together like this, and you keep rubbing it, and you can wear it down and make it as shiny as you want. So you can't listen to them when they're telling you that.
I show you all that because although I respect his opinion, he's one of many people that say, oh, well, you just need the right, levers and you can move things easily and you don't need technology. You could grind these out. But it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me when I look at, these aren't simple rectangles that, they're just grinding out. Those beautiful, intricate little shapes go all the way through the depth of these stones, and some of these stones are like 7 feet deep. So I'm going to leave it up to you. It's just something that is mysterious and amazing, and it's something that you're going to have to decide for yourself what makes the most sense. I don't think anything's lost by, again, seeing if there's multiple cultures, or people groups through history that have contributed to Peru's beautiful, history. So take a look, come visit for yourself and decide what makes sense. But any way you look at this, it is truly amazing.